Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Dax Ferguson. Thanks for being on the show, Dax.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm honored to have you on the show. I've heard great things about Dax and his business, and we're going to dive in today to some due diligence that we all need to be aware of and some ways that he is helping operators in this process. His expertise is construction, and he's the owner of Heritage Construction. He's the father of 9 boys and has over 20 years in construction experience in business. Has been active in multifamily since 2008. And so, Dax, welcome again to the show. I'm excited to get into this process. Just from what you shared a little bit before we started recording, it's very interesting, how you all are helping operators in a big way through this, the due diligence process and what we need to be thinking about as far as interior, exterior rehabs, especially exterior, and just the amenities that we need to be considering. So, but give the listeners a little bit more about who you are, and let's jump into this value you're providing to operators and things we need to know about this due diligence process.
Sure. So before 2008, I actually did a small stint in the computer world, and I have a pretty good knowledge of software and how developers work and things like that. So when I had a lot of my customers start asking me about, hey, can you do our due diligence and things like that? I'm like, man, I can put crews together and we can come on clipboards and we can write these notes down and collaborate. But my real focus is if I can't do it better and help the customer or the sponsors in a better way, I don't know that it's the right fit for me. So I started diving into some software, some off-the-shelf stuff and things like that. And I found an off-the-shelf product, and I got with some developers and we redeveloped it. And in redeveloping it, we made what I feel is the best product on the market for due diligence and going in. And so a few of the things that we do are we take 25 to 35 pictures per interior unit. But with those pictures, some of the pictures we take that we feel help you long-term are going to be, we take a picture of all appliances, the exterior, and then the interior, the tag, which gives you model, make, serial number. It gives you the 800 number to call if you have a warranty issue, those types of things that keep you from having to go back to that unit time and time again to get the problem solved. So that's just a little bit of the detail. Of course, we give you the sink, pictures of the sink, pictures of the floor, cabinets, countertops, things of that nature. But we really focus on some extra detail to give you pictures to help you long-term, not just for the due diligence process.
Wow. Well, I mean, you've already created value right there. Just thinking about, when even if we're taking all these photos ourselves, going ahead and getting a photo of the interior of the appliance and that tag that you're talking about, that could save you a lot of time having to go back and looking at that later down the road, or the management company or whoever. So let's dive into that, due diligence process a little bit, and if we hire somebody like yourself, what that's going to look like, when you're going to be involved, and just that process of what you're looking at through this due diligence process, and how you all track all these things.
Sure. So when you submit your LOI and you're going to, start your due diligence process, before you submit your LOI, if you have a pretty good shot at getting this deal, right? So you're pretty far along. I just ask that you engage us at that point, right? So that we can go, okay, we have this property, and we kind of mark it on our board and set up our teams and whatnot to do that. And then once you do it, you have your due diligence period. I've seen them as small as 10 days, but up to 30 days, you have to go in there and do it. And so we schedule it within that time frame. And we need 2 days to set it up in the software before we show up. So we need at least 2 days notice, right? That, hey, I'm closing, let's go. But it's pretty easy for us to set up on our end. We've automated as much of it as possible, but we need, kind of the stuff we'll need from you are what building numbers and what units are in those building numbers, and are they on the first floor or second floor, and then what floor layout they are. You may have eight different layout types or floor plans for that property. And we want to make sure that we have each one of them so that when you get your report, it's as intuitive as possible for you. You know that, floor plan A1 is a 1-1 and floor plan, A3 is a 3-2. And we can show you the report just for those. So if you want to look up, hey, how are my 3 bedrooms looking? And then you look at which one of those, and you can look at the picture report on that. So it gives you so many different ways to do it. And look in there if we have that information. So the 2 days is important there. And on average, it takes a 4-man crew, which is what we send out to do it. They can do 100 units a day. If you have 150 units, we may add 6 guys to get it done in a day. But typically we try to stay about 100 units a day and come in and come out. And then you'll have your report within 24 hours. Of us finishing with drone footage and everything. So we put it all together in there for you.
And what else is that report going to show us? How is that going to be laid out? I guess give us some, so we can visualize it a little bit.
Sure. So with it, it's a interactive report. So it's in the cloud. It's not some PDF I'm going to send you and you're going to have to flip through every page. So the great thing about it is if you're a spreadsheet guy, it's a spreadsheet report, and you can just look at the spreadsheet report, which is very easy to understand. Unit, 511, and here's your appliance section of this report. And here's what needs to be done. Here's what's good, bad, or needs replacement, or it's missing, right? So you'll even have those categories on there, and that goes through every unit. But it blocks the units on that report also down in there where your 2 bedrooms are together, your 3 bedrooms together, your 1 bedrooms are together, or every floor plan type if you have several different floor plans of each. So it kind of breaks it up so you can see it that way. And then at the bottom, it gives you, hey, you need 23 dishwashers on this whole property. You need, 14 microwaves, that are missing or need replacement. And on the other section of this report, which is the cost replacement report, it gives you the price that's associated with those, right? So we put in there, a dishwasher is $600 to replace one. And I'm just making up a number here, but $600 to replace one, and then it extrapolates, 24 times 6, and it spits out your number. Same thing with refrigerators and all the other stuff that's categorized like that. One thing you need to know is we price it in a way that if you have to replace 1, the number works, or if you have to replace 24, it's going to be high. It's going to be on the high side. And reason we do that is because we don't know going in how many need to be replaced. So just be aware of that. We're doing it to protect you guys, not us. So.
Nice. So, help us, if we don't have somebody like yourself, let's give a few tips as far as, when we're walking a unit, maybe some things, that you're looking at, or that you're, like you already mentioned this, a couple of things that specifically take photos of, or maybe a few things that are commonly missed that you all find, that I might not know to look for when I'm doing my walkthroughs.
So we start at the front door. It's kind of very systematically approach. We take the front door, look at front door conditions, if it needs to be replaced or not, the light at the front door. And then as you walk in, we look at the flooring in the entryway. We look at what's behind the door. Has the door knocked holes in the wall and nobody's ever fixed it, right? So, and then we look at smoke detectors, which we hit every smoke detector and make sure it's working or not. And that instantly tells you if they're really maintaining the property, honestly, because tenants will never replace the battery. So if you as a sponsor want to make sure your smoke detectors are working, we recommend every 6 months going in and just as a system for your property, replace all batteries every 6 months. Because it helps you maintain your property and make sure that if there is a fire, then people are woken and everybody knows. But we look at fire extinguishers. We look at air filters for the HVAC system. Are they replacing those regularly, or are they just caked on with old muck that's been there a while? We look at sink faucets. Is there a leak in the kitchen, in the bathroom? One of the cool things that we added after is we take a picture of every toilet. And the reason we do that is if you're going to go on water conservation, you need to know if it's a low flow or not. Well, typically we all know these days if it's a 1.5 or a 3-gallon flush versus a point 0.8, right? So we take a picture to let you know. And just because they do it in a few doesn't mean they do it everywhere. So we take a picture of every one so that you can actually go into the report, look at the pictures of all the toilets on the whole property and see, and you can dial through and it will label, this is in unit 511, this is in unit 512, and you can see which ones have been replaced and which ones haven't. So it's really getting that detail and being consistent with your team on making sure that you're getting all the pictures and all the detail that you want.
Nice. So, the team that you send out to do this due diligence process, is someone on the team going to be an expert, let's say in HVAC or roofs or, foundations, all these different components? I know, early on when I started investing in real estate, I hired a crew, or I hired a one man to come out. It was a smaller multifamily property. And, I just assumed that he knew all this stuff, right? That I just assumed that he was an expert in all these things, and lo and behold, he was not. And so I didn't get, there was information specifically about like the HVAC units that I learned the hard way, months later, that I should have known, before we actually closed on the property, and felt like, that, he should have found it during that due diligence process. So, tell me about that team, and, or am I going to have to hire somebody else that's also an HVAC guy, or what do I need to think about when I'm hiring somebody like yourself or, somebody else?
So that's a great question. We're very knowledgeable, but we're not experts on every aspect of this deal. So if you want plumbing lines scoped, we're not going to scope them ourselves. We're going to bring on a plumber that can scope your lines and give you video and audio of what the shape the lines are in. And that's an additional cost there. However, on the electrical side of things, if you take a picture of the panel and they have GFCIs in the bathrooms and the kitchens, they've done some wiring work and things are up to date. Or not, right? So if they're there, they've done some work. If it's an older property, if it's not a stab lock or Federal Pacific panel, that you're probably in pretty good shape on the electrical side. Now, the big push right now is for the HVAC, right? Is it R22 or is it 410 on the Freon? And obviously, most of these older properties, they've done some replacements, but not all. And so with that, we take a picture of the condensing unit or condenser unit on the outside, and we mark as best as we can, depending on the location, what unit that belongs to. So if that unit belongs to unit 510 and it has R22, we circle it and we say it's functional if it's working, but you'll know that it's R22, right? So we try to give you all that detail that we can give you. Now, if it's 410, we'll mark it as good because typically those are in good running shape. Some of you guys may or may not know R22 is going away at the end of the year, and those condensing units are going to have to be replaced when they go out. Freon's going away. So there are some Freons that are replacement for R22 that will work in those units. But we've been told and we've seen that they're not as efficient. So what happens is they break down and you can't replace a part. So at that point, you're forced to go replace that unit. So you just need to be aware of that when you're doing due diligence, and go from there. Foundation's typically pretty easy. So the guys are trained to walk the units, look in, see for foundation issues, and then on the exterior, look for foundation issues. If they've put on vinyl siding and inside has cracks all over the place, that they've hidden some foundation issues. So what we do at that point is if there's some damage that we've found through due diligence, we recommend bringing out a foundation company to come give you an assessment on it. And, depending on the market, we have lots of foundation companies we work with that will come out and give you a free assessment and just say, hey, this is where we're at, or hey, we need to get an engineer out here to give you the real issue. And engineers can be expensive, but they also can save you a lot of money. Some people are like, I don't want to go through the expense of hiring an engineer. I said, well, you have foundation issues and I'll throw a number at you to give you an idea of what that is. But if you spend, a couple $1,000s to have an engineer come out here, they're going to give you what really needs to be replaced. And it may be half of what I'm telling you. So, It's just case by case on that. So my team, we have a lead that's on the team. And that's going back to what you said. We have a lead that's on the team that's trained in looking at all these things in detail, looking at the roof, looking at everything. And we try not to get on a roof. We fly a drone around the roofs, take some close pictures, take an overall picture to give you an idea of what that looks like. And if we see trouble spots, we'll fly down and we'll take a closer picture. So it's kind of how we assess the roofs. And then, the lead will walk all the exteriors because they're the most trained on looking for that. And then we have the other guys that are truly going through the software systematically. You probably know this as well as anybody. The younger guys really know how to work technology, and they know how to look at the detail and take the pictures and do this and do that. And so all of our guys that do this are pretty young, and we keep it that way. I'd say they're all, early 20s in most cases here that go out. If it's a customer that's looking to do, some construction and they need some advice on that, I typically go out with them on at least one day and walk with the sponsor and say, hey, why don't you think about adding a pergola? Why don't you think about adding an outdoor kitchen and really enhance this property so that you kind of come out of there having a good idea of what you're going to do when you're done.
Nice. Yeah. So, it sounds like, your team would be just amazing to have on, a team like ours, but, you all are going to walk this property. You're going to point out all these things because you're you see so many properties, you see so many different issues. You're going to spot those problems a lot faster than I am. And we're going to have a great breakdown of everything that needs to be replaced and how to move forward. Do we need to renegotiate? What else, things we didn't know maybe ahead of time, or maybe even something like a roof or foundation issue that we didn't notice that you all find. And that lets us know that we do need to bring in somebody that's, an engineer like you're talking about to make sure we are accounting for all these details or these expenses that are coming. So, as far as I know you all also specialize in exterior rehabs and in large projects like that in numerous states. And, what are some typical, exterior rehabs that are really going to help our property, or whether it's, from rehabs that need to be done, if there's damages or, whatever from roofs or whatever, but maybe some other things, even to amenities that we need to be thinking about that are going to help our property the most.
Sure. So one thing I always say is paint it. Painting it shows that you care, right? Just painting it shows something's happening on this property. So, people are like, oh, it was, just painted a couple years ago. And I'm like, yeah, do you really like the paint color? Can we switch it up? In some cases, they painted it and it looks great and there's no need to do that. And I wouldn't recommend painting just to paint. But in most cases, they're selling it after the lifespan of that paint job in some manner. So, painting the property shows that you're doing something. And then vinyl siding covers up stuff, right? So most people that put on vinyl siding are using vinyl siding because it's cheap and they need to cover up something to hide something. And so we see that all the time. So when you rip off vinyl siding, you're going to see rotten wood, or you're going to see some foundation issues that you don't see. So we try to kind of peel back the onion on some of that stuff to make sure you're covered. But then, so painting and siding are huge. Your stairs, there's a lot of people that have stairs that they just don't maintain on a regular basis, whether it's just replacing a tread, or you're having to place the whole run because it's rusted out over time and they've never dealt with it. So, life safety issues are kind of first priority for all of us, that we want to make sure that the tenants are safe. And nothing's going to happen there. So, railings on balconies, railings in the front, depending on how the property's set up, and then the stairs are a big deal. And then you go down to trip hazards and parking lots, making sure they're good, and then adding some amenities, pergolas and outdoor kitchens. We do so many of those throughout the nation. And the reason why we do a lot of them, because I talk a lot about creating a stickiness factor to your property, right? So, if you have two tenants that don't know each other, but you have this barbecue grill that's sitting out there next to a pergola, and they're like, oh, we're going to grill, and we're going to grill, same time, and we're going to sit outside and eat our dinner with our families, or, just our kids, depending, married or not married. A lot of single moms, right? And they create this community, and then their kids start playing together. They become friends, and then the parents sit out there while the kids are playing, and they watch them together because they have a shaded structure to sit under, and they become best of friends. Well, after you finish your rehab, the whole goal in all of these is to increase rents, right? So as we increase rents, their extra income that they have to spend on eating out or doing other things goes down, so that they find it more enjoyable to sit outside with their neighbors and let their kids play, and they grill on the, barbecue grill together. And then you raise the rents $100 or whatever. And they're like, well, I'm not leaving because I can't replace this relationship that I have for my kids or myself. And so it creates a stickiness that they don't want to get out of. So the key here is taking care of the tenants keeps them there, right? So
Yes.
If you create atmosphere to keep your tenants, they're not going to leave you. Over $100. Now, you can't get grossly ridiculous and raise it $300 and, all that, but you can increase it, and they enjoy that lifestyle more than going to the property next door. So that's what we do a lot of.
So, I wanted to back up just a little bit. You mentioned like even looking behind siding and how, that shows you different things about maybe what somebody else is covering up. And I wanted to ask you, are you looking behind siding during this due diligence process? Is this something that's common, that you see, that we should be doing every time?
Yeah. So if it's vinyl siding, it's real easy to kind of pull back one layer and snap it back together and see what's there. If they've gone really cheap, they haven't even put a moisture barrier behind the vinyl siding. And so you're like, oh, they're really here covering something up, right? And so sometimes you can see the rotten wood right behind it, and you look in some troubled areas. And so that's kind of, we'll snap it back on every building or so. We'll look at a little spot and just kind of get a good idea. You're not going to take off, if it's hardy board, you're not going to take off a board there, but you're going to look at things, right? So you just look for all these key factors. And, my oldest son is the one that leads a lot of these crews, and he and I have walked together for over a year now, walking properties, and he knows what I look for and what's important to look for. And of course, he's he asks a lot of questions and he asks them because he's like, I want to know why you're doing this, not just to do it, but why you're doing it, so that I can be better than you as we go forward. So it's been a great match for him to go out and do that for me, because he finds stuff that I don't even see sometimes. So
nice.
It makes it a great team.
Well, Dax, what's the hardest part of this, of the due diligence process that you all do? What's the most difficult part of that, when you're completing this for an operator?
It's really simple. We've set it up so easy now that, you can log in as the operator and, be off site and watch it happen in real time, update the report. We check in and out of every unit, so how much time we're in every unit. And then when we leave, all the pictures and all the data goes up to the cloud. So if I have 4 guys out there, if you update the report every 10 minutes, you'll have 4 new units come up and they'll be on the report. And then we ask for 24 hours after we complete. And the only reason we really ask for it is because the drone footage doesn't automatically go into the report. And so we're like, okay, we got to go home. We got to go back to, get away from your property. We'll be back at the office tomorrow, or be, somewhere where we can import all the drone footage, and then you'll have your full report access. So I'm not going to send you a PDF. I'm going to send you a link to the reports, and then you can see them that way. And if there's some jockeying that you want us to do on the numbers of, hey, you put in here $700 for this item, we feel like it's only $600. We can change that and send that back to you. It's not a problem. And that way you have the report the way that works best for you and your team. And we're done, and we walk away. So it's pretty easy at this point. It really is.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't say it's hard at all.
Well, what's a way that you've recently improved this business? Is there any way you've improved your business that we could apply to ours as well?
Yeah. So I'm giving more detail than ever before, right? And so some people are picture people, some people are spreadsheet people, and I'm talking about due diligence specifically right now. I can let you see it however you want to see it. And I'm a picture person, but there's a lot of engineers in this business, right? And they're spreadsheet guys, right? So you want to see it the way that you want to see the product, which speaks to you and helps you analyze your deal in the best way possible. So I feel like it's set up in a way to give you the best opportunity for success on how you want to see things. Of course, you can always go look at pictures once you dial into the spreadsheet and do that because you have that report there. But giving extra detail. So one thing we're trying to add right now in this software, which we think is an added benefit, right? So we're always looking, how can we help and how can we improve? If I can create a 2-second video to go into this software, I can show all the sinks running. Well, people are like, well, what does that mean for me? Well, if you're going to do low flow water conservation, you have to pay for the person to come out and tell you if it qualifies or not. And that costs you about $5,000 on average. If I can show these 2-second videos of these flowing, you can send your report to these guys and they can tell you without coming out if it's going to qualify. And then you don't have to spend your money and then get declined. You spend your money only to get approved. So there's, I'm not going to say it's 50-50 shot, but let's say it's a 50-50 shot and you have to pay $5,000 every time. And you've done 10 deals and 5 of them went through and 5 of them didn't. Well, that's $25,000 you've wasted to understand that you can't do water conservation. Well, if I had that in all my reports, you would have only spent the $25,000 that went through to get approved to go through water conservation. You wouldn't have spent the other 25. So nice. I'm looking for ways to improve for you guys as well, and always up to criticism or changes that could help you guys as well.
If we reach out to you, or I was just thinking about how the listener, if they're thinking about your services and what they would see on this report, do you have like sample reports that we could request or see?
I do. What I actually like to do is log you into the software, and we'll do a little conference and I can log you into the software and show you the different types of reports that we do and kind of give you some samples of what that looks like. I teach a lot of classes on this and I do the live reporting and we do fun stuff and all that, but it's better for us to sit down and have a 10-20 minute conversation and I can log you into it and show you what it looks like.
Yeah. And so, Dax, what's been the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Integrity, honesty, doing what I say, right? Mm-hmm. So you say, I need this done in 90 days. And I'm like, I can do this in 90 days, getting it done in 90 days. There's reasons why, y'all need it done in 90 days. It's, bank loans, it's, this and that. You have your reasons. It may be just how you set up your pro forma for the property. So really focus on getting things done the time you need it done. I will say this, we're not the cheapest in the industry and we give you a great product at a great price, but we're a general contractor. We're in this to make money, just like you're into investing to make money. We're not going to gouge you by any means, but we're not going to get any Joe off the street to do the job that just got out of prison maybe last week. We have crews that work with us and are trusted and would come in our home just like I'm trusting them to come into your business. So that's just how we operate as a company, and we're a partner. The other thing that I get a lot is, well, I hired this guy to do this job for me, but he needs me to pay him every Friday. Well, you have a responsibility with your bank, and you have to do draws with your bank, and it takes time to get your money sometimes. 2 to 4 6 weeks even sometimes, and these other guys can't cash flow it to keep moving until you pay them, because we understand it's a business and the bank has to pay you so that you can pay us. So that's a trap I see a lot of people get into, is because, well, he's the lowest price, I'm going to go with him, but you may have to pay him out of your pocket to get the job done until you can get reimbursed from the bank. And it's just, if you're willing to do that and you can do that, that's great. otherwise you need to partner with somebody, and it's a business relationship.
So, and before we have to go, how do you like to give back?
So we do a lot of events. A lot of our communities do sponsored events, and we encourage it. Whether they have back to school, whether they do backpacks and food and bouncy houses and things like that, we help and we give back to a lot of those events for our communities and for our customers. Our customers also do nights where they bring in all the investors and they have a party for them, and we sponsor that party for them to speak to the community and to the investors. And so we do a lot of those events. So that's where I give back to my customers, and we help them out. We do a lot of we do a lot of events for them, and
Great.
We give back that way.
Well, Dax, you've been a great guest, and I appreciate you just elaborating on this due diligence process and going through some amenities and why we should be thinking about that, and really the detail, the level of detail that you all provide in your reports, and how that helps us as an operator, and hiring a team like yourself, or maybe other people that we need on a team as well. When you all find problems, and it's been a great show, and appreciate that. But tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about your business.
Awesome. So you can find me on Facebook, just under Dax Ferguson. You can always look at Heritage on Facebook, Heritage Construction and Consulting Services. My cell number, I give it to you. It's 469-261-1190. Feel free to call me or text me and reach out if you have questions. I'm more than happy to help out and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by Life Bridge Capital. Life Bridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. Life Bridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.